The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has an organized leadership structure to control everything that they're involved in. I'm adding this at the beginning of the video because at the end of the 4 hours of video, I was going to get to it finally. So nobody's going to watch it. So it's here at the beginning for you. You kind of have to watch the video to understand the context of this information. It's kind of vital. The church, as an organized structure, have been creating anti-Mormons. These anti-Mormons find out things from certain people and they collect them together, and then our modern technology with social media and the internet, it gets regurgitated over and over again. But there's no organized anti-Mormon group. It's all fractured. Everybody's doing their own thing, but only staying with those who support their anti-Mormon view. There is no organized structure. There is no organized leadership of anti-Mormons. The church is using this against you. Because when, if you keep watching the video and endure to the end, the church is going to do the mass extermination. Eventually. It's being delayed. And in this mass extermination, without leadership, everybody is unable to build a civilization to resume and start over with. So Alma and Amulek with the Zoramites. The Zoramites are cast out for their poverty. Oh no, what do we do? How do we worship the Great Spirit Jesus? In our Jewish synagogue. And so Alma and Amulek teaches them about the scientific method. That faith without works is dead. Spiritual witness feelings without the physical evidence is dead. And so this is the trap that the church is setting for even Mormons to betray Mormons, who are all in on spiritual witness feelings, and then boom, mass extermination event, church is gone from the face of the earth. Oh no, what do Mormons do? How do they worship the Great Spirit Jesus? They have nowhere to turn to give their adoration. And this was Albert Pike and his contribution to this great conspiracy overthrow, in which see, as I get into the first part, I tell you that it was recorded last night, and then I had to finish the recording this morning. So he's talking about the 3 world wars that are part of their plot. The 3 test runs. The 3rd World War is what the other first 2 world wars were preparation and a test run for. This is the ultimate final solution. And so he talks about a social cataclysm to get people to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We're there. It's happening. So when is the time when you are completely exhausted? And so I joke in the video a couple of times about it's a race between who's going to be first. Am I going to be completely exhausted? I can't endure any further. I quit. Or is Oaks going to die? Who's going to be first? And so, yes, a formidable social cataclysm with all its horror, origin of savagery, absolute atheism, and the most bloody turmoil. Trump is failing to trigger this. Trump doesn't want to just attack people because then he's seen as the target of being the enemy. He's doing all of this physical, moral, spiritual, economic exhaustion to cause you to rise up, and nobody's doing it. Everybody is laying down and dying. And so he's just going to keep on going with the concentration camps that he's setting up around America. If you're not going to rise up, then fine, we'll put you all in slavery, just like the Nazis did to the Jews, and have it run by psychologists. Thus, psychotropic drug testing now, huh? The FDA is now running a test on the particular drugs to get them approved for Trump. I see the bigger picture, guys. And so if nothing happens, they'll just keep going little by little, taking away your rights, taking away your freedoms, secretly implementing all the things, and then boom, they get it all in together. Gotcha. Independence Day. They're coordinating their attack, getting all their pieces into position, and then boom, checkmate. I gotta call my lawyer, I gotta call my mother. You never saw Independence Day? And so, these destroyers of civilization, the multitude is now disillusioned with Christianity. No Jesus. Which I'm kind of surprised as to why there weren't more who said, these are the actual signs from Revelation. These are the dates. Oh, we're here. There was, and it's dead now. But Christianity is still going, especially with the new Pope who's bringing in more Catholics. So yes, there's a failure going on still, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction. The Zoramites, who were cast out, and Alma and Amulek step in to correct them with the scientific method. Anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration. There is no leadership. There's nobody stepping up to say, here's what we should try, at least. The church is organized. The enemy is organized because they're under the orders of the church. And they are causing this destruction. This is the danger everybody is in, not just anti-Mormons, not just Mormons. The devil never supports his own. And you should have caught on, anti-Mormons, because I didn't see it. The inverted pentagrams on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple, the inverted pentagrams on the revised design of the Nauvoo Temple that was dedicated on May 1st. Hello? The pure doctrine of Lucifer is to then be manifested unto mankind who survive, taking over the leadership. 1984. The true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer finally brought out in public view as a natural consequence of their self-fulfilling prophecy. Because they've got you psychologically believing them. So you are self-fulfilling it. All those books, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and other stuff, self-help books, they're telling you how to think, how to feel, how to believe. And if you believe them, then you implement it. So astrology. Oh yeah, this is my birth sign. I act and behave exactly like the birth sign tells me I am. And you're actually just self-fulfilling it. You're picking and choosing from your life when you first learned about it that which conforms. And the things that don't, you just set aside. Well, yeah, I've got a little bit of that, but obviously it dominates. That's because you're only thinking about that. And then you're actually implementing that. You're acting out what they told you you are. And you don't stop and think, wait a minute, thousands of years ago, this was not my birth sign. Your birth sign is actually adjusted to the other sign. These are the traps of religion. These are the traps of psychology. And with social media and the internet and everything that's going on, yeah, there's a mass brainwashing indoctrination going on, and everybody is falling into the trap. Heads up, guys. We're under attack. Travis Wingoodsill. We're recording this Friday night while everybody else is having fun but me, to be posted tomorrow. This is on anti-Mormonism. Full disclosure, in case you're an anti-Mormon. I was born and raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I was taught how to study my scriptures. I learned that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints isn't true. and was shunned from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I can go on to that story yet again as to the bishop who got the call from the Strengthening Church Members Committee. Not necessary for this video, I guess. So, in our public school systems, even back when I was a kid, for the most part, in my generation, you were to receive textbooks at the beginning of class. We had to go home and get grocery paper bags and make binders for them. And have a backpack and paper and pencil, number 2, etc., for all of the school year. And so with my Boy Scout young adult hiking, my shoulders got ripped. I am physically noticeably different than my brother Todd. Anybody can tell the difference between the two physiques if we were side by side. Nonetheless, not pertinent to the video. And so the teacher would read from the textbook in class. We then had to go home and memorize the textbook so that we could regurgitate information on our homework assignments, on quizzes, and the tests. We were told that the information was correct and true and factual, and that memorizing is what got us smart. Unfortunately, upon graduation, we were only qualified to be a contestant on Jeopardy! Right, Ken Jennings? Obtaining factual words is not intelligence. The scriptures, both in the Bible, that old and busted, incorrectly translated, and the new hotness gospel of the correctly translated Book of Mormon. By their fruits you shall know them. That's the scientific method. In that particular case, it's the scientific method of agronomy, and they have husbandry before that. Wolves in sheep's clothing. And it's all done in linguistic wording for the linguistic science of it. Science is all done by the same method. That's why it's called the scientific method. When it's a pseudoscience, it's because they don't use the scientific method, and therefore are false. So thus religion comes under attack for preaching falsehoods. Psychology preaches falsehoods. People's beliefs, opinions, feelings, falsehoods. That is not the scientific method. That is not from Scripture. It always produces false results unless you follow the scientific method that is also in all Scripture. And there are numerous examples of people who get inspiration. They then try to produce the physical evidence and the results. Let them know whether their inspiration was good or bad, corrupt or good, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it says in the text. I don't memorize. Rebelled because of Fiskin in fifth grade. Not germane for this video to repeat that. And so when dealing with Mormonism, it needs to likewise be examined or critiqued, criticized under the scientific method lens. Mormons cannot claim exemption from this. It's in the Book of Mormon. We are told, as a reader of the Book of Mormon, to run this scientific method test on the Book of Mormon. You go around as missionaries telling everybody that you need to run the scientific method test in the Book of Mormon to find out if the Book of Mormon is true. In case you forgot, as a returned missionary, of which I am. Moroni chapter 10 verses 3 through 5 is not about spiritual witness feelings. It's about manifesting the truth, i.e. the scientific method, producing the physical evidence. Mormonism fails the scientific method from the Book of Mormon. Now that may sound contradictory. Why would the Book of Mormon tell us to run the scientific method on itself only to find out that it's not literal history? And this is where both sides need to stop it. Just stop it right now. Cut it out. Oh my hell. You only ran the test for literal history. The test for literal history says no, it's not. So you need to stop it. You need to drop it. You need to run another test to find out what the Book of Mormon is. But Mormons, in this concept of memorize what the church wants you to memorize about the literal history of the Book of Mormon, of Joseph Smith's visions, those who find out critical information regurgitate those words to justify criticizing the Book of Mormon as not literal history. Neither of you know the truth. You just know what's wrong. Mormons are completely out of the loop. So, anti-Mormonism can also be reworded as Mormonism from the first paragraph. So we'll start with anti-Mormonism, as it's written here from the Wikipedia page. Refers to individuals, literature, and media that are opposed to to the beliefs, adherents, or institutions of Mormonism and the Latter-day Saint movement as a whole. It may include hostility, prejudice, discrimination, persecution, and violent physical attacks targeting Mormons and the Latter-day Saint movement. And so, Mormonism refers to individuals, literature, and media that are favorable to the beliefs, adherents, and institutions of Mormonism and the Latter-day Saint movement as a whole. It may include hostility, prejudice, and discrimination, persecution, and violent physical attacks targeting anti-Mormons and anti-Latter-day Saint movement. So stop it, both of you. Look for a third alternative. You guys know about Stephen R. Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? You read it, at least? Or at least you were told factual information about it and regurgitated it on tests? The win-win situation. You don't go in and force a compromise for both sides. That is a lose-lose. He makes that very clear. If there is any compromising, it's an automatic lose-lose. He suggests finding out what you agree on and work from there. And in many cases, you produce a third alternative that both of you can agree on. Thus a win-win. And I've been hearing the last couple of years about the world using the win-win abusively. It must have been a while since they've read it. Nonetheless, see, I didn't memorize it. It was decades ago when I read it. And yet, the scientific method test from the scripture, and I know the truth. It's really simple to use and adhere to. But the information about anti-Mormonism is not correct. Because it doesn't go over why. Why are people attacking Joseph Smith? And that's where they start. They don't start with Brigham Young. They don't start with Sidney Rigdon. They don't start with Alpheus Cutler. They don't start with James Strang. They don't start with Joseph Smith III. They only go to Joseph Smith and assume that Brigham Young is the legal successor when the courts of the United States of America deem that Joseph Smith III is the legal successor of the church that Joseph Smith founded. You've been deceived on the factual information that you were supposed to regurgitate on your tests. Both of you. Both Mormons and ex-faux-pimos, as I've come to learn the term. So PBS did an article on violence, anti-Mormon violence. say how long back it was. From the first years of its existence, the Mormon Church sparked violent opposition from other Americans. This violence claimed many lives, including Mormon prophet Joseph Smith's, and eventually led to the opposition for worldly reasons. I don't think that's supposed to be... So apparently I got cut off from information here. Opposition for worldly reasons. The hostility shown Mormons has many causes. Some of them were practical. Mormon settlers tended to arrive in a community in substantial numbers, and their ranks swelled as church leaders issued calls for gatherings of the faithful. Non-members resented the economic competition the settlers brought, the rise in land costs, and the possibility that Mormons voting as a bloc would take control of local government or state government. Missourians had the additional concern that Joseph Smith had declared their state the site of a New Jerusalem for his flock. PBS got the wrong factual information. No. So right away, the factual information: Joseph Smith established the Church of Christ 6th of April 1830 with 6 members, sons of parents. That's it. 6 men started the church. The families came later. Even though the families were in attendance, supposedly. The purpose was to spread the word of the Book of Mormon. To get the Book of Mormon out to the attention of the United States of America at the time. I would hope you know enough that Utah was not a state in the United States back in those days. I would hope you've got that level of intelligence. I'm just assuming. Maybe I'm stupid for assuming that. Maybe. Could be. And so, it was slow going in the beginning. People were not readily accepting to purchase a Book of Mormon and join the church. But the big conversion came from Parley P. Pratt taking the Book of Mormon back to Ohio with his pastor, Sidney Rigdon. And so the whole flock came and gathered with Joseph Smith. And technically they went back to Kirtland, or back to Ohio to Kirtland. And 1832, Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball joined in April. Ooh, the anniversary. I'm surprised the church isn't doing anything about it. Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball converts record-breaking number of converts. Because they did. Church has a whole article on it. Why won't they talk about that? Oaks, can you explain to them? Oh, you've silenced my channel, huh? Okay. Whatever. And so September 1832, 5 months later, these brand new converts of Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball are lying about the church, lying about Joseph Smith, lying about the Book of Mormon. The anti-Mormons are Joseph's own missionaries converted by Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball. Do I need to reread the definition of anti? This is why the church is under condemnation. It's from section 84 of our Doctrine and Covenants. So then, December 1832, the missionaries are refusing to tell the truth to new converts. And so now Joseph is calling them apostates, using wheat and tares, section 86. (1834), there's a priesthood meeting. Sidney Rigdon raises his hand. I propose a name change to the Church of the Latter-day Saints. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. The name of the Church of Christ is now the Church of Latter-day Saints. But that's in Kirtland, not anywhere else. They're supposed to get word out through the missionaries. Nonetheless, 1835, Quorum of the 12 Apostles are created. The High Council was already created in section 102. This is section 107. Section 107 is the Melchizedek Priesthood Protocol. It is the corporate governance of Joseph Smith's church. You don't violate it. Right, Brigham Young? Also in 1835, Joseph Smith acquires the Egyptian papyri and obtains alphabet and grammars and Bibles in Greek and Hebrew. He's trying to learn how to translate the Bible correctly. In January 1836, sure enough, Rabbi Sykes teaches biblical Hebrew. He's got his own alphabet and grammar that just got published. Rocky Yang in the Book of Abraham. Facsimile number 2, I think. Yeah, from his book. So even though you may learn biblical Hebrew and you know Rakia, it's Rocky Yang in Rabbi Sykes' book, who taught Joseph. Factual information must be correct in order to run the test. The scripture test. 1836, we get to March 27th. Kirtland Temple's built. Dedicated. Spirit of God, like a fire is burning, with the missing stanzas. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints doesn't want you to know of. And then, on the 3rd of April, 1836, is the Kirtland Temple Vision, on the 3rd day of Jewish Passover. Thus why Elijah, thus why Moses, thus why Jehovah, thus why Elishua. The Gospel of Abraham is the Gospel of Salvation. Shua, Hebrew. El, Shua, God, Shua, Elishua. There are too many of you anti-Mormons who criticize this for saying, oh, that's just the Greek of Elijah. Oh, Joseph is stupid. That's why you have to run the test. The school systems don't teach us this. We are told that the information we're getting from the textbook is accurate. And then they tell us at the end of the school year we got to turn back in our textbook because it's now obsolete and the next class below us is getting all new memorizational information. What the bleeping hell? What do you mean Pluto is no longer a planet? What the hell? I always thought a tomato or tomato was a vegetable. Now you're saying it's a fruit? These kinds of changes cause people to say we can't trust the scientific method. You didn't get taught the scientific method. You got told to memorize, and the memorization material was wrong because you didn't use the scientific method on it. So after the Kirtland Temple Vision, getting the keys of Moses, section 107, verse 91, the head of the church, Moses is the Jewish Christ, the future Jewish Christ. And here Joseph Smith, during Passover, with Elijah coming as the forerunner for the Jewish Christ, who's a man like Moses. Joseph calls for a gathering in similitude of the latter-day gathering, because he's only the forerunner, he's not the Christ. So if you're going to use Christianity to criticize Joseph Smith, wrong. You're pulling what's called a fallacy argument. Your premise is faulty. You got to get rid of Christian interpretation on Joseph Smith. I may have to do a two-parter. We'll see. We're only 30 minutes in, but still. You cannot judge one religion by another religion. You have to judge a religion by its own self. And so for me, being born and raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints told me how to interpret the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith. So I ran the test and, well, no, it's false. So I run the test on the actual words of the Book of Mormon and the actual words of Joseph Smith. Oh, yeah, okay, I see what they're doing. Did both sides catch that? But people want to die on their hill of fallacy arguments. And I do not understand this. It demonstrates ignorance for a person or a group to judge wrong. See, for example, drinking Mountain Dew, Dew of the Gods. Not a sponsored. Not sponsored. There are a number of Mormons still to this day who forbid everyone from drinking caffeinated drinks. State of Utah banned for the homeless and the poor on their snap cards Sody Pops. Even though Utah is on the map for dirty soda. Yeah, that's why everybody calls us stupid in a cult group. And Mormons get all upset and offended. Leave us alone! Quit being stupid! Use the scripture scientific method test. And then you can call other people stupid. By using that with them. See, this is what Mormons don't get either. They judge anti-Mormons by Mormon standards. Anti-Mormons judge Mormons by anti-Mormon standards. Stop it. Stop it. So, those converts get word to gather to Kirtland, and they arrive and go, what the bleeping hell? Remember? They were lied to by the missionaries. Can you guess what they were lied to about? They thought they were Christian. And even the church's article on the Kirtland apostasy indicates that they formed the old standard church of Christ that they thought they were converted to. Christian. Why would Christians be upset about being Christian? The church does not answer it. For the church, it's all about loyalty, not about doctrine from scriptures, from the words of missionaries that converted them. Church disassociates from Section 84 and Section 86. See, these are Jewish stuff. A temple, a prophet who's a seer, a revelator, and a translator. Visions, a Book of Mormon, a Bible. Christians have a Bible and they need no more Bible. What thank they the Jews for the Bible they stole and turned it Christian? 2 Nephi 29. See, I don't memorize. It's all the scientific method text with the help of my visionary memory, not photographic memory. Vision. Fiskin. And so they threatened to assassinate Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon, chase them out of Kirtland. That's not their home. They were asked to move there. And when they moved there, realizing that they're not Christian and they got lied to, they decided to chase out of their new home as occupiers Joseph and Sidney Rigdon. So the missionaries were left with those who still chose to be with Joseph, and then came in an exodus to Missouri, and phase 2 of the purging of Joseph Smith's church by the anti-Mormons called Danites, judges, with the god Dan. Amos chapter 8, verse 14. And that inverted pentagram of Lucifer. But I'd have to do a thorough church history for you. The Danites are the original anti-Mormons, not the locals. There was some problems in Missouri while Joseph was in Kirtland. But Joseph never declared independence as the New Jerusalem. He was in far west. The Danites were forming their second coup. Now they're telling all of the first wave of loyalists that Joseph Smith is making a whole bunch of changes and they need to come to war against Missouri. So there's a whole bunch of forged scriptures in our Doctrine and Covenants because of this that Thomas B. Marsh in his affidavit to the governor of Missouri revealed. Section 115 about the name of the church, forged document. Section 116, Adam on Diamond, forged document. Section 117, Noel K. Whitney as the bishop in Adam on Diamond for the storehouse to Jesus and not the poor, forged document. Section 118, the replacements in the 12, including John Taylor and Willard Richards and Wilford Woodruff. And page, is it? I can't remember. I have to check it. I think there was at least 4 that were named, if not 5. Not by Joseph. Section 119 on tithing, forged document. Priestcraft, seriously? How many of you still fall for that? And then the ones on baptism for the dead, section 124, 128, the Danites. Because they're changing the latter days coding for what they are plotting to do. Thomas B. Marsh says, they told him they are going to coup the government in the latter days and ultimately the entire world with the fall of the United States of America. 200 years. Oakes then got leaked saying, I'm going to run a test run instead. So a 10-year mission for me instead of the 3-year mission which I was supposed to have. Just unbelievable. Such incompetence of evil. So that's why I'm burning out. So it's a race as to whether I burn out first or Oaks dies. Which is first? Place your bets on the poly market or the prediction market. Dear God. I am surprised nobody has a Deadpool going. I've done those videos several times at least. Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. Rated R. Again, another thing where Mormons judge other people by their standards. Can't do that. Leave other people alone to worship how, where, and what they may. To follow the United States Constitution, YouTube. YouTube is lately pulling a stunt in which they're back to telling me that I'm experiencing interruptions. I just barely clicked on your video. And they instantly pop up, experiencing interruptions? Find out why. And then it gives me a whole thing of crap. I know exactly why. You're cyber terrorizing me. Don't give me this crap. I know exactly what you're doing. I've been on YouTube since 2014. I've got over 10.3K videos. I know your patterns of practice. You're evil. Leave me alone. They won't do it. Because Mormons are attacking. So yes, everybody seems to treat me as treat me being anti-Travis Wayne Goodsoe. I don't even have a Wikipedia page for that. And so the latest trend from about a week ago is that they are continuing the months long now flashing of the channel picture on the video page. They would also do it on the home page, but they've seemed to have stopped the home page flashing and only focused on the video page flashing. And this is a human who programmed it to do this. Do not be fooled into thinking that this is a supernatural entity that has intelligence in a computer program. If it's not programmed, it won't do it. It's programmed. It does it. A human. And so lately, they've changed it to where they now, when you refresh the page to get it to stop flashing, it cuts off the top 4 videos in half. What kind of a mental retard would do this if it was not on purpose? But the thing is it's been going on for over a week now. And it's not getting stopped. Usually when this affects a whole bunch of people on YouTube commonly, it gets stopped immediately and fixed. Not with me. Thus, why I know I'm specifically being targeted. And most likely they're taking advantage of me because I'm on an obsolete Windows 10. Just as Google has been threatening me to pay thousands of dollars for a new system, which I will never be able to have to do. And so then I have to refresh it a second time now. Because originally, I could stop the flashing and resume with just a refresh or bringing it up on another tab. Not anymore. There have been a couple of occasions where I had to do it, refresh several times to fix it. This is an anti-Travis Wayne good cell attack. And Oaks told you to love your adversary. Yeah, Mormons don't obey the living prophet of Jesus, do they? What a shocking surprise that I told you so. And so PBS then goes on to opposition to Mormon beliefs. Again, you cannot argue that Mormon beliefs are wrong simply because your beliefs are different. Notice it's beliefs rather than the scientific method for truth, the physical evidence. This is what's called Bible bashing, where you bash another person based on each other's beliefs, rather than going over the factual, physical results of the evidence. And so then there's the violent stuff that's involved, and they got all of that incorrect. There's one about the perfect theocracy. In Illinois, a familiar pattern repeated itself. The Mormons were initially welcomed. What? No, they weren't. No, they weren't. So we don't get told what happened. It was originally the town of Commerce, Illinois. The Danites from Adam-on-Diamond, while Joseph was still in Liberty Jail, had to leave Missouri because of the extermination order. So they took their merry little band of criminals to Commerce. And then it's now called Nauvoo. A Jewish name? I'm not buying it. The Danites are violent. And what they did in Missouri, they just stopped. They repented. Now we have to forgive them, or the greater sins on us. Ain't buying it. But nonetheless, that is stupid that PBS didn't do their research properly on this. As investigative journalists, they are licensed and educated to know how to investigate properly. And I am horrified with the news currently that still cannot get the war against Israel correct. Did you notice how I worded that? Because nobody else seems to catch it. And so, but relations broke down. Smith founded a city called Nauvoo. No, he didn't. He was in Liberty Jail when it was founded. The Danites were able to get it incorporated. They tried to incorporate the name of the church to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but they failed to do that. And it might also have to do with Joseph Smith eventually getting out of Liberty Jail. Because in 1838, Joseph Smith wrote his visionary accounts and then published them in 1842 at the Nauvoo Press, the Times and Seasons. And guess what the name of his church still was? And what it wasn't. And guess who that angel's name was? And what it isn't. Original source documents, people. It's kind of essential when investigating. The factual information that we are told are all lies by this church. Both Mormons and those who leave are being given incorrect information in their textbooks. It's obsolete lies. Surprise! It's a fruit, not a vegetable anymore. It's now just a roaming rock rather than a planet. What the bleeping hell? I remember in my astronomy class at the university that I went to, actually no, it was in my scientific method course, one of them, in which there was the theory by an astronomer who said that the Earth is the way it is and is habitable with life because of its position in the solar system with the certain number of planets that it is, and so that's why. And so thus you would look for other solar systems in the galaxy for this same pattern to look for the planet that would then contain life. And then they destroyed that by saying Pluto is no longer designated as a planet. Well, crap. Nonetheless. Okay? And so this whole talk about independence as the New Jerusalem is false, because we didn't obtain in our canon Joseph Smith's sermon on 19 July 1840, in which he says, many of you believe that Zion will be in independence. You are wrong. It's in southern Illinois. We don't have anything in southern Illinois. Why is it in southern Illinois? Well, Brigham Young refused to publish it. Joseph Smith gives you the design of the mountain cities of Zion and New Jerusalem, with an observatory and a bell. It's fun stuff. And so, yes, we're talking about civilization building with Joseph Smith. That he's trying to prepare Mormons for a civilization building upon the apocalypse, the day that shall burn as an oven, so that there will be humans existing afterward, that there won't be a mass extermination of humans and biological life on the earth, that the human race and biology of vegetation and animal life will continue. And so this requires a knowledge of civilization building. And civilization building requires knowledge in anthropology. Not general anthropology, but the whole umbrella of every single scientific field under it. And there is nobody on the face of the earth except for yours truly. So, we get to tell you the story, and then it looks like it will be the end. We'll have to continue with part 2 tomorrow morning, going over anti-Mormon listings of why Mormonism isn't true. Okay? So heads up on that. In 8th grade, junior high, we had moved to Corona from Placentia, California. And I was at Auburn Jail Junior High. in hell are you doing? Okay, so we're not gonna. Yeah, we'll bring this out. Those of you who followed me for a while now, you'll see in my videos signs in the heavens. Screenshot from my Urim and Thummim in my rock, or in my hat, rocks and a hat. Made a picture of it for you, and a new one recently, with my white shirt, and Joseph Smith, and that white shirt guy that appears to him at his bedside. Remember, as literal history, it's not true. But what is it then? Joseph Smith translation of the Bible with Sidney Rigdon putting him to work to pay him back for his work on the Book of Mormon. They get to Revelation 12. Daddy helps Junior out here and teaches him about the signs in the heavens and the likeness of things on the earth. Virgo obviously is not a woman in space. I don't look at the constellation Virgo when it's in the night sky and go, oh, look, a woman. That's the vision. To impose a woman on the stars that form the constellation of Virgo. This should be real basic, because I got taught in Southern California about basic astronomy, being told that Pluto was a planet. And that we get our calendars and clocks based on our observations from Earth. And so this is seer, and we have revelator. And it's from a Hebrew language, which the author in the Greek says from the Hebrew Armageddon in Revelation 16. Therefore, there's the translation part. So we just need prophet for prophecy, the prediction of the future. Verse 7 gets added for this intent. The woman of the stars forming Virgo is Joseph Smith's church. So the sign is a specific calendar date and clock time, day and hour. Sorry, the Christian who put in no man knows the day or the hour. The author of Matthew knew the day and the hour and gave you a whole bunch of visions with that calendar date and clock time. Oh, right. You didn't check to find out what the scriptures are, did you? They're all visions. That's why they're not literal histories. Okay? So that's why you find that very same sign in 1 Nephi chapter 1, verses 8 through 10. Oh. You all know it. Many around the whole world know the date. And Joseph Smith, through Senior, told us that this is when the enemy would attack, with a certain president on the throne that very year. And if you can't figure it out, sucks to be you then. Already gave you the answers. Quit waiting to be compelled to what to memorize. And so, that's why I show you the signs in the heavens, to teach you this. So sure enough, the Lyriads, And wouldn't you know it, previous signs in the heaven, falling stars, were not happening over Utah. Getting very upset. The anonymous Mormon sent me a United States map of where sightings of falling stars occurred. And they were not hitting Utah as they need to be. This one hit Utah. And a reminder to Oaks what I reminded Nelson of. And Dooley. And Oaks is still in defiance. Because the anonymous Mormon sent me the videos before it made the YouTube news. Because tonight I saw a whole bunch of them from last night, as they got posted after I checked last night's news. I'm always right. You should have trusted me. You didn't. So yes, very significant. I'm trying to teach you, and there it happened. Can we do it? So, brand new at school. I'm the dorky new kid, the Mormon, and Tom Jones on the perpendicular street from 1855 Farrington Drive. And the other stories that I've told you from this experience living there. I have a sociology class. So if there are any teachers out there of middle schoolers, I know of one. I show up for social studies. It's the required course. And our teacher quits on us. And then the substitute teacher quits on us. Then another substitute teacher quits on us. They're trying to teach us from a textbook. And the class just doesn't care anymore. They're getting burned out on memorizing textbook information. They don't want to do it anymore. And so me, yeah, it's just, I already reprogrammed my brain after 5th grade so that I don't memorize on purpose, and so I learn a different way instead. So I'm actually the good kid. So, a new day, a new class, a new teacher walks in. They had to pull him from another area. He comes into the class and says, "You are all getting a what's it called? The demerit, where you got to go to, oh my hell, it's the Pretty in Pink thing. They're all isn't it Pretty in Pink? Where they're all in the class that's extra after class. Oh my hell. Why am I drawing a blank on this? Detention. Oh my hell. He put us all in detention. And so that shocked the class. We started paying attention. There are a bunch of A students who were shocked. They don't get detention. This is going to ruin their whole career. I didn't care. But I don't get detention, so I was upset with him for giving me a detention when I didn't do anything wrong. And so he goes through the class with the textbook. And so he comes back the next day after telling us at the end of class, No detention. We were good for the class, therefore we don't get detention. Whatever. Bleep you. He comes back the next day and throws away the textbooks. He's going off script. He says, well, you think you're so smart? Will you build your own civilization? And my eyes lit up. I'm going, awesome. Best class ever. And I fully was invested. Had my whole island, nation, and government, religion, and flag, and economy. It was awesome. And then that inspired me to try to do a board game for it. As in high school, I had a notebook with my pen, and I'm trying to come up with the map for it at least, and just getting design ideas to make the map. But I never really got into how is the game actually going to function. I was just going line upon line in the building process of it. And so later, after my mission, after Rick's, after the university, after the failure, won't go into it, I then obtain Civilization 3 complete. Technically Civilization 3, I figured it out, but when the complete came, oh, that was far better. Much better. Good job, Sid Meier's. And it helped me get better ideas on how to have the game work and function. It would be better if it were computer programmed, but I failed DOS. Again, it was a situation where I don't memorize, and so my visionary memory could not comprehend this crap programming. It didn't make sense. And so I had to do this all from scratch to try to figure out this board game. And Civilization 3 helped me the best on this. And so it wasn't until the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, being anti-Travis Wayne Goodsell, had me wrongfully locked up as a religious prisoner, or shall we say a seer, prophet, revelator, and translator of Paleo, Hebrew, and Egyptian with the keys of Moses. Prisoner. And so after my Hinckley dream, this was also part of the flood of inspiration that I got. And I went, oh, that's how. Awesome. So with the help of Easy, next door neighbor, in Supermax, I had the paper to make the game and start running the test with it, playing it out, seeing how it would work. And so after I eventually got out in 2014, and got myself situated in West Valley, that's when I began to resume, having repurchased Civilization 3 Complete on my now obsolete Windows X 7X or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, obsolete when Windows 10 came out. And so I could only use it for the game, which was fine because I had the laptop and this computer that I had and would eventually get that one later on. And so I started to resume it, but when the 4th of November 2016 occurred, from Fox 13 News Utah, about the total solar eclipse over the United States of America. This is my field of expertise. I knew exactly what it meant, and I dropped my jaw and I went, oh crap, I need to cram, because I'm the only person on the face of the earth who knows this information. And I need to warn Mormons specifically. And so that's my #1 video on this YouTube channel since. Because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were not happy as anti-Travis Wayne good souls. And so I put aside that project, as well as my Paleo-Hebrew publications and other language publications and other scripture projects and all sorts of projects, immediately put to a halt or rushed to finish them, and began doing the research for the latter days for you guys. I started changing my theme on YouTube for this end to let you know the information, trying to teach you, trying to be as simplistic as I can, because you don't know the terminology. That's why I have to teach it to you, and I'm trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what people understand, and I can't do that when I'm talking in an empty room and a camera. And YouTube doesn't want to give me accurate stats. And so, in the next year, in January, I was asked if I wanted to go with a couple who got invited to go to a Roots Tech Family Discoveries Day in Elko, Nevada in February. So sure, I was told I can be signing books. Okay, so I'll bring the books. I had to purchase a whole bunch of books to bring to the book signing, and then the couple suggested that those were inappropriate, that I needed to have something more appropriate for the theme. Why didn't you tell me that in the beginning? You invited me, and now you're complaining about inviting me? Not cool, guys. And so I had to try to repurchase other books, but I didn't really have any. And so that's why the game, having not been completed in publication, I then did some modifications of it to rush the publication of Mormon Zion Civilization, the first 1,000 years, the board game instructions, with Zion's National Park as the picture. Don't buy it unless you want to. I hope you can figure it out. May be a little complicated. It's intended only for a board game. It works better on a computer system. It would work better as a computer program. But so, yeah, I've not been able to get back to this. So that was a rush job for that reason. Just like the video that's 40,000 views was a rush job as well, because the woman, who's a second failure, thanks to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints again, attacking me as anti-Travis Wayne good cells. Stop that one. She demanded I give her the date for when we're going to Missouri, because we still believed the church's lie that it was in Adamon-Diamond, or Independence, Missouri. And I had not yet found the Joseph Smith papers and 19 July 1840. So I am finding this stuff out as I do research. I am now, at the end of 2017, beginning to do church history research. I was all about scripture study, anthropology, and languages. That's where my focus was for the scientific method testing. And I'm finding out a whole bunch of stuff that nobody else knows, because nobody else is doing the testing. And so, yeah, that's why. And for civilization development, you need to know everything about a civilization. And this is only for Mormonism, to show you the difference between the two, and I never finished this picture. I've got an older version somewhere on YouTube, but this is how you do investigations. This is how you do research. Both of you are doing it wrong. Stop it. Where's my pen? Need something to fidget with. Alrighty, so that's where we're at. And so I can do the whole nation through this process because of that 8th grade teacher. That's why I went into the field. And it wasn't available. The University of Lethbridge in Alberta, Canada didn't have that. I made my own degree because of the classes that were available. And so the guidance counselor in my final year says, "You don't have a major." "Yeah, because you don't have one I want." So she looked over it and says, "Oh, well, let's make a dual bachelor's with a minor." She had no clue how to name things and legal terminology and case-specific terminology, and so she didn't call it anthropology with the scientific method with a minor in languages. She called it ancient languages, but Greek and Latin are classical languages. Biblical Hebrew is Middle Age. It's still Dark Age. Yeah, it's still Dark Age. We're not yet to the Middle Ages. And so, no, it wasn't ancient. My decipherment of Paleo-Hebrew, that's ancient. My correcting of Sir Alan Gardner's Egyptian, that's ancient. My corrections of even Mesopotamian, dear God, guys. And I'm knowing that there's so many errors out there, but having put all of that on hold. When I see that the only Mayan scholar is a Mormon, oh crap. So I know damn well it's got to be fixed. Nonetheless. So yes, I can go to any of the scientific fields of any civilization, and in Mormonism's case, that's the religion of the United States of America. That's the branch off from the umbrella of anthropology of the United States of America in the early 1800s. And so that's all I did. That's how I was able to do it. I am the only expert in the field on doing research on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So everybody is going to the wrong sources and getting misinformation and regurgitating that misinformation and circulating it on social media over and over and over again. Stop it. Stop it. But that's also why I'm also silenced. Is I'm being shunned by both sides. Nobody recognizes my authority. Alright, so the next half of the video will be why Mormonism isn't true and correcting you guys. Alright, I'm back now. So, Bill Maher will have to be a separate video because of the content. If I end up getting to it, or if it will just get put in a pile that's ever breeding. But just to make you aware, his new rule went over near the end about how billionaires are able to fix the problems that they themselves caused. And he points out Musk, who wanted to pay for TSA, but was rejected. And so then Bill Maher suggests having a contest between the billionaires to see who can be the greatest problem solver of the world's problems that they themselves caused. But how it ties to Mormonism, that this is what I have seen, and we're going to get to all the lists of why anti-Mormons are anti-Mormon, is that finances of the church. We know they got busted. The whistleblower, he blew the whole lid open. And I'm deeply disturbed by an anti-Mormon who commented on my video exposing the financial evils and corruptions of this church that I did the other day. So we have to find it. Comments. And then find it. Yeah, official LDS Mormon Church breaking news. No more payment of tithing. Missionaries coming home. I pulled what's called a Trump. Where Michael Cohen, Trump's former fixer, exposed how Trump communicates. It's his negotiation tactic. He goes and says stuff and he expects it to get done. So that's why he keeps declaring there's peace in the Middle East, ceasefire, they're wanting to talk, blah, blah, blah. And then Iran keeps coming out and saying, no, we're not. we're not talking. That's Trump's negotiation tactic. But it's also being used as insider trading for war profiteering, which is also part of Trump's tactic. And so, on that video, this is clearly an anti-Mormon, as we're calling them in this video, which is the church's intentional reasoning so that they can justify being the anti-Mormons and thus be violent and criminal towards people. And so he goes by the bossied, or the boss, and then there's some extra letters. Whatever. I don't care. And he says, nice clickbait. No, I'm not selling anything. People are already altering the definition of clickbait after I found out about clickbait. See, the church locked me up away from society to erase me and murder me. I got out. And so I'm now with my new computers, and there's a lot of new stuff, and I'm not happy with it. Because, one, it means I've got to learn stuff rather than just turning it on, doing what I want to have done. There are stuff I've got to learn how to do what I need to have done. And it's taken time. Working on the movie maker, I'm still learning new stuff because I don't have time to sit and research it to figure out all of the things that it has. And so it's been a learn as I go. I want to give out a message. It's available for free for me to do on YouTube, and so I learn as I go to figure it out. And over the course of time, I've been able to improve things. And the church, as they notice that I'm learning how to do new technologies like PNGs on my pictures, they have shut down the newest update on my Adobe Photoshop for creation of PNGs. I've previously had to use another app to manually go in with a circle to erase the backgrounds. That took time. And so when the new Adobe Photoshop comes up, I'm pissed that they didn't ask me first. Because I was just figuring out the previous one for making of the pictures that I use. And so now this new one comes up, and it sucked originally. There's problems with it, but eventually that gets fixed, and so for what I use it for, it started working better. And then I experimented when I had the time to see how the remove the background feature worked, and it sort of works on some pictures. But I created a whole list of apostles with their heads and was able to touch up the ones that I had done previously on the other app. And so using those quite regularly, the church is pissed and ordered the employees of the company to sabotage it. So now, instead of removing the background, it replaces the background with a white background and checkers on it. And so I don't know if that's going to get fixed, because if it's just me being targeted, nobody else will complain. And I couldn't complain. There was nowhere for me to go to complain about this new thing that they did. I have no idea where to go to find the email to say, what the bleeping hell? Companies nowadays don't want to be contacted. They don't want to be complained about. They don't like the lineups at Walmart the day after Christmas. And so online, companies are purposely not wanting to be talked to. They want to do their thing, and you need to shut up and just do it. And we can't, because there's problems of the dumbasses who are doing the programming. Dear God. So, yes, I'm having to learn all of this new language behind computing, behind texting. Oh my hell. Etc. And so clickbait, I had to look it up on Google years ago. Oh, okay. It's a pretty picture for you to click on the little button or link that they provide, and it instead takes you to buy our product. So that it is a diversion from the actual thing that you were thinking you were going to be clicking on. It's a lie. This is not a lie. This is actually going on. The church is financially criminal. It is not clickbait. The law that we are not supposed to pay tithing from the church's commandment, yeah. I put in the picture that I made with the in the video. And then I put the whistleblower who says, we no longer have to pay tithing anymore. That's supposed to be a follow-up to what you're supposed to read. Nobody reads anymore. Nobody cares to read anymore. That's also disturbing with the school systems that I talked about in the first half of the video. Is that textbook memorization is no longer wanted to be done by anybody anymore. Everybody wants to hear from people in social media making the little slogans that get spread around over and over again, and those become the cliches. And those are false because nobody runs the test. And so lots of words out there are trigger words, and they're false because people aren't checking. So in the news last night, I found out that the new Tide Pod challenge to cause harm to people is called maximizing or some max thing. And it has to do with abusing your body to the point of starvation and muscular physical appearance and blah blah blah. And it's deceptively evil in that it's telling girls, for example, because this is pretty much boys who are doing it, that this is the image of boys that girls are supposed to lust after. And so when the girls fall for that, they then reinforce it for the actual guys who are abusing themselves to be popular, to be attractive. And the boys end up hurting themselves with starvation, with other ailments on the body. And this is what I saw being done to girls back in the 80s. All of the businesses coming out and telling girls you're ugly, you're fat, you're too thin. And then the too thin even also came out with the new models who had to be starved in order to be attractive for the dresses. And it was an attack on all sides against women for everything about being a woman. Businesses trying to sell products that didn't need to be sold. In order to sell them, they've got to fool people into buying the product. And so you've got the feminazi Christians, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who are providing the false dichotomy argument to escalate the problem. And that's the situation with anti-Mormon and Mormon, is that this was purposely caused by the church. And you're not stepping back and going, okay, what is the real issue with the church? What is the real church history? What is the correct interpretation of the Book of Mormon, of Joseph Smith's visionary accounts? So that this morning's dream, for example, I had messenger women, one of them was clothed, and she was covering up and hiding the truth of her message. Another woman, thank God, finally, was fully naked. Do you know how hard it is to get a naked woman in my dreams? Oh my hell! It is rare. Even though Mormons would say, oh, you're probably having dreams of naked women all the time because of all the porn you're involved with, Travis. No, I'm not. And sex? Oh my hell. It's a contest as to whether my actual life of no sex or my dream life of no sex is worse. Awful. And so it was intentionally worded that way to help you illustrate dream interpretation. It's not about the physical appearance. They're the vision. The prophecy behind it is that the woman who was lying to me, covering up and hiding the actual message, was clothed for that reason. There were other people clothed. There are lots of people clothed in my dreams. But that's only for messaging for the specific dream. When there's the contrast of the naked woman, then the symbolism kicks in specifically. And so my regular dreams of clothed people does not necessarily mean that they're lying to me and covering up and hiding. It depends on the dream and the intent of the dream. And so this morning's dream was specifically about the two types of messaging that I get. So that the naked woman was fully transparent and being honest with the message she was giving me. And so when you go to Joseph Smith's visionary accounts, the first vision, the two personages are the sun god at noonday. Fully transparent, but we do not get told that they are naked with only the white robe that is transparent. That's the second vision. This means that Joseph Smith is being told the truth from true messengers, fully transparent, not covering up and hiding their message as the unseen darkness from the other world was trying to do right before the first vision. And so in the second vision, he's talking about the truth of the Jewish Christ, not Jesus, that Christians cover up and hide in the scriptures with a false translation, false interpretation, and false definitions of words. The Ten Commandments, for example, like I talked about Anderson, whether in the first part of this video and a previous video the other day when it came out in the church news. Anderson is talking about it being about Jesus. No, you dumbass hater. It is the ultimate hate, negationism. People just don't want to be good people. And when you're a leader of a religion with people who follow you, oh my hell, you need to be locked up for your evil. The church needs to be shut down for their evil, not just their criminal actions that they are pursuing. And so Mormons who believe these nutcases because you won't run the bleeping test end up committing crimes against other people because their lies reinforce your faith bubble. And then you say, well, I need to protect the church, I need to protect my faith, and I need to therefore go and attack anti-Mormons. And so with Bill Maher last night, Bill Maher has repeatedly tried to inform his audience, apparently in vain, that the Ten Commandments that are being placed in the school systems are Jewish. It's about the Jewish Christ who's coming in the future, the 23rd of September 2017, in case you didn't do the test that I told you to run. Because I wasn't going to tell you about what everybody already knows now. And so when Joseph Smith in section 107 verse 91 says he's got the keys of Moses to be the head of the church, it means he's the Christ. Specifically Messiah ben Joseph of Egypt. That's the first vision, guys. He called me by name and said, Christianity is all wrong, all abominable, all corrupt. We're setting you up for the preparation for the second vision, the actual Christ who's coming in the future. And Joseph Smith tells you he hasn't come yet. But when he comes, Mormons, you better damn well listen to him, or you're going to be precisely as it stands in our New Testament. But I'm going to quote from the Book of Mormon of cut off. Rather than the Deuteronomic passage of chapter 18, verse 15 through 19. You need to study your scriptures. You need to pay attention. And so again, it's fascinating too, the second vision, in that he's naked and fully transparent about being the Christ. And so he's not wearing underwear with the square and the compass on his boobs. From Freemasonry. And yet the whole second vision is about Freemasonry of the Yorkites that Daddy was a part of, and even Hiram, but Daddy is the one about this. And the Knights Templar as the highest rank. So you need to know Knights Templar lore about Egyptian gold plates coming to America and being buried in the ground in a cave in southern Illinois. If you remove that ex faux Pi Mo Nevermos, you're not understanding why there's a second vision. And if you're just going to go and mock and say there's no way it could be gold plates, and then Mormon apologists come out and say, well, it's because they're not gold. They're golden. And so no, nothing I do is clickbait. I do not get money for this. I am teaching you, I am warning you the dangers of the church. This boss needed to catch on that it's not about how the church can pay tithing, give back the tithing, and fix the world's problems. It's because they're using it as a criminal operation. He missed the point. He went beyond the mark because as an anti-Mormon, he knows that the church is financially corrupt and got busted by the SEC and the whistleblower came out and blah, blah, blah. No, you didn't listen. Anti-Mormons are not listening to me either. You think you got it all figured out, and you don't. Because I come out with this stuff about the naked Nephi being a symbol of telling him the truth about the Jews. And you're like, what? You don't know everything. So shut the bleeping hell up and listen to me. I have contributed. Joseph Smith Sr., for example. I contributed that. That's me. You dumbasses. Dear God. And that's where Bible bashing makes things worse. And the church, yeah, they're fine with apologists Bible bashing, even though they then will come out of conference and condemn them for Bible bashing. But they're okay with it because it keeps everybody away from doing the actual research to learn the truth that the church's pure doctrine of Lucifer, of cover up and hide, is all about. And yep, that's why they're into porn. And that's why they're so evil. Is they're going after porn as the moat when their beam of the complete and horrifying sexual deviance of Epstein file proportions is the real beam that the church is involved with and guilty of, covering up and hiding with a false message. Okay? So I do have one person who wanted to learn how to interpret his dreams, so if you're listening, there you go. Assuming that you are writing your dreams still every morning as you remember them. But again, it's based on the individual and what their level of learning is. So when I was a kid, I had my dreams based on the TV shows that I watched. So when I was in Placentia, California, going to Sierra Vista Elementary School, I was watching Land of the Lost on TV, the reruns for Land of the Lost. And so in one of my dreams, yeah, it was the Land of the Lost dinosaurs chasing my parents on the school playground. It's from what I was exposed to as a kid being portrayed in my dreams. And yeah, it is kind of important. The other Bill Maher thing that was brought up that I would need to go into more detail in is the banning of cell phones for kids. This has been the same argument forever by the feminazi Christian Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, attacking everything from TV, movies, books, games, video games, music, from the radio or cassette tapes, magazines, and now we've got the internet, social media, streaming, and cell phones. It's the same repeated argument, and now finally they are able to punish children and keep them from learning by banning cell phones and not solving the problem of miseducating the children. That's what it's all about. These new technologies are teaching children in a different method than textbook memorization and regurgitation. And so kids get bored with textbooks faster. So psychologists step in and say, oh, your kid's mentally retarded, they have ADHD. Let's give them some drugs. That doesn't solve the problem. See, conversion therapy for gays that the church was involved with, it doesn't work. It doesn't convert. It's a torture device. And so, knowing that it was being used as a torture device, the gays who were being electroshock therapied would tell the psychologist, wow, I'm cured. It's a miracle. Because that's what psychologists are. They ask you questions that are leading questions to only provide the answers that they want you to give. And so knowing this, yeah, oh, wow, yeah, I'm cured. It's amazing. It's a miracle. Wow. Can I go now? Well, you may be lying. You're mentally retarded for the rest of your life. What, gay? What? Because nobody is teaching sex ed about how the frontal lobe gets the messaging from the covered up and hidden. I would have to explain sex ed for you because nobody else is doing it. I had to do it. Again, if people aren't giving me the answers that I want to know and I'm being fed a whole bunch of contradictions, oh, I naturally desire. And yet the church is saying, no, 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 Lucifer is the one telling you to do this. Wait a minute, but Lucifer is the one who says to cover up and hide. You're not getting it. They purposely lie and cause confusion, and the boss didn't get it. We all know the church could tell everyone they no longer need it. That was not the message. It's about the church and their criminal operation. And so that was the original intention of a video idea that I had put on a paper and it probably got thrown away now, was to show how the church has ties into everything that helps boost their money. The church is involved with companies, educational facilities. They've got dozens of different sources of revenue. And so those different sources of revenue make them money. And Mormons who are involved in these pay tithing to the church. So if the church has to pay a wage and they can't get them to do it for free as a church service missionary, to pay themselves to do it for the church, the members are required to pay tithing. From 8 years old, kids have to pay tithing. It's not an option. If you saw the Hunter quote, he's saying, oh, yeah, it's a donation, it's optional, you get to choose, but it's a debt you owe to Jesus. So why wouldn't you pay it? That's extortion. I don't understand why nobody knows what extortion is. The boss didn't catch it. But also for the sexual abuse by this church, having us pay to have sex. That's prostitution. Having us pay not to have sex, that's sex abuse. We're the #1 in the universe ever. Here in Utah, that was the new news. And yet they don't factor the church in. And we're still #1. And so I can keep going on and on and on and on and on. And so the educational schools, members go. Members are already paying tithing. Now they go and they pay for the BYU attendance. And sure, Mormons get a discount. But they're paying back the church also with tithing. And so there's the Canadian scandal of tithing into BYU laundered. Also a problem. The church is laundering in all of this. This is a whole laundering operation because tithing is criminal. And so the employees at BYU, same situation. They pay tithing. And so the strengthening, or the community guidelines of BYU, the honor code, yeah, that's abuse. That is not to help people. It's abuse, and it needs to stop. Follow the Constitution of the United States. That is the morality for America. And the church wants to overthrow America by destroying morality in America. Religious freedom. And so the church also invests money in corporations. And the church has Mormons who go into those corporations, right? YouTube and Google. And so the church is making money off of the investments with Mormons who go to work for them and pay tithing from the paychecks that they get from these companies. And then the church, through the Strengthening Church Members Committee, puts out the call, Travis is doing a video, shut him up. And they commit crime for their company on behalf of the church who invests in the company. Criminal. A widespread criminal operation worldwide. And then for example, other things where the church has a similar business operation, like psychology. Family services is now all psychology. Utah is set up for Mormons who pay tithing to go to BYU or the other schools to learn psychology, which is false. And then the educated students who graduate then go into the career field of psychology, and only here in Utah. Whether it's for family services, where they get paid but pay the church tithing, or for the other connections in Utah. University of Utah and Valley Behavioral Health are all tied with the church. Employees for family services also work for the University of Utah and or for Valley Behavioral Health. At least 10 years ago when I did the research to check. And so yes, there is a church connection, and Mormons are employed in all of the different psychological companies. All of the asylums, called centers or care centers or whatever name they call it, it's still the same. Do not be fooled by the different words. It's not a different definition. It's a lie. It's actual clickbait. You have to pay. And you pay with your life. Like a TikTok challenge. And so the church then is able to boost their stock with Mormons going into the field and having it dominate the state of Utah, and thus spreads throughout the world. So the companies of psychology that the church invests in are boosted, and big pharma that uses psychology to run human experimentations on humans get boosted, and the church invests in big pharma as well. See how the church has got this whole laundering operation to improve their stock value? It's a criminal operation that needs to be shut down. I reported it, but my government's not listening to me. The local authorities are supposed to be doing this. They're not doing their job to go after the church. They're not helping take a bite out of crime. And so thus, when you don't do your job to stop crime, you are giving aid and comfort to the criminals. You're a co-conspirator. And so Charlie Kirk, Governor Cox, and the prosecution are co-conspirators in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, framing and blaming Tyler Robinson, who everybody now knows didn't do it. And because they're Mormon, they pay tithing to the church, and there's a Strengthening Church Members Committee to activate Tyler. Oops. Now we have a direct connection to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. While Candace Owens is still stuck on an inside job with Tupac, or Tupac, or whatever they want to call it. Turning Point USA. You guys are not listening to me. You don't know better. You're not running the test. Run the test. So, this morning's sign in the heavens, the moon for religion is at the mouth of Leo the lion for Judah, phonetically the same as Utah. That's this video. Again, fulfilling it. But for me, I don't give a damn about any of this. I already know it. I'm bored, I want to move on. You guys don't know it. And so I have to keep doing it for you guys until you catch on. I'm waiting for fruit of the fall of this church and the transfer of authority so that we can get to Zion and build it. And then I can go on to the other projects that I'm piling up with. And I can't do those until this is completed. And it's already extended another 7 bleeping years, Oaks, you bastard. So yeah, that's why I joked in the first half about how it's a race to see what's going to happen first. Am I going to break? I can't go on any further. I quit. And if you remember 2023 to 2024, I was doing those videos. I quit. Oh my hell. Because I hadn't found Oakes's leak that he ran a bleeping test run in 2020 rather than their 200-year-old plot to cause it then. They changed it to a test run, and it may be my fault because I leaked to them because I figured it out. That first video, that's number 1, that it was from Karen, who said, I demand to know when the date is that we're going to Independence, Missouri. And so I did the video about it all. And even the date that I gave as a speculation, it actually happened. It was on a Sunday, and the lesson for Sunday was about the Exodus in the Doctrine and Covenants that year. Even though it wasn't the Exodus, it was Brigham Young fleeing the country, but you know. I thought that was amusing. Nobody else caught it. Anyway, so things happen, guys, just like the Lyriads over Utah. And it didn't go national. It was kept within Utah, the local news. The other falling stars, yeah, the national news covered them. Not the one in Utah, the one that counted. It's pissing me off. The church must fall, and great must be the fall thereof. And until it happens, I'm getting frustrated. So last night, checking on Bill Maher, before we get into the list, I noticed he says on his channel page, when not blinking, still not in it for the likes. Yet he's a comedian, that's what he's all about. You're so funny, Bill. But that's the same thing that I've been telling you. I'm not doing this to be liked and popular. I'm doing this because I have a serious message to warn your lives about the church and the evil that they are trying to murder you. And the boss is not getting it. Okay, so let's get into the list now that we're 44 minutes into this video. This was intended just to read this stuff, and then Bill Maher threw in some extra stuff that I'll have to cover in greater detail. And did I throw that away? Did I need to throw that away? Nope, that was yesterday's. payment of money. No, we can just do the, if I can get to it. Okay, so then we can put this over here. In that pile. I'm organized. I'm organized. So that was the PBS one. Here's Catholics, which it seems like it was a Mormon responding to Catholics in a Catholic site. Let's find out what this is about. Mormon bashing. A written exchange between Mormon apologist Robert Starling, whoever the bleep he is, and Catholic apologist Patrick Madrid from Catholic Answers. Okay. And so they have, God, pop-up ads ruined it. And so it's only, okay, he does his at the end, so he gets the last word. So Robert responds to Patrick about Gerald and Sandra Tanner's The Changing World of Mormonism from October 1990. I am saddened to tell you that as a Latter-day Saint, I am shocked, I can't blow it up, and appalled. See, he's doing a guilt trip on the Catholic, who did a review of Gerald and Sandra Tanner. So Robert is starting off with guilt trips. How dare you? How could you go be an anti-Mormon? He's Catholic. By definition is anti-Mormon. And so again, Robert is doing a Beeman mode. It's one thing to objectively examine the differences in our faiths. Is it? Because that's what I do, and everybody attacks. Seeking to find common ground. Why do you have to find common ground? Joseph Smith made it very clear. Christianity is all wrong, all abominable, and all corrupt. Robert, you went on a mission, Robert. And to dispassionately, Robert is very abusive here. This is cruel. So yeah, the Catholic is drooling over this one. Good job. And so I should have done a copy and paste of this rather than a Control P. Which again, it took me time to figure out, oh, I can do a Control P. But then pop-up ads interfere. And so it's, we use cookies. Bleeping hell. Let's see. Explore our points of theology divergence. Such is the basis of constructive dialogue. Ooh, he's dialogue-splaining falsely. See, this is how Mormons fail. Robert needs to shut the hell up. So the Catholic is exposing him for this. So let's see if we can find out where at the end he finally gets to a single point. However, you acknowledge fruits of Mormonism are unattainably good. Thank you. Oh my God. Bleep you, Robert. And so if you know Robert Starling and he's actually popular in the church, notice how I dismiss him on purpose. See, I have no idea when this was. 1991. Ooh. He's old school. He was with Farms. I don't remember him, so he must have been out when I started being involved with Farms. A decade later. Wow. So yeah, this is the early days of Farms. Let's see. You recommend to your readers the Tanner's book as a credible, non-inflammatory explanation of LDS beliefs. And so now I'd have to go and see if I can find The Changing World of Mormonism and see what that's all about, because that's what this whole thing is about. So, yeah, the Changing World of Mormonism. So let's venture on to Google to announce my presence. To be attacked. Google is employed by anti-Travis Wayne good cells. Because it's not Mormonism, shadow, or reality. And I think it's not the changing world of Mormonism, it's the magic world view, or the changing world. I'm recalling other titles of theirs. Okay, Internet Archive seems to have it. You gotta borrow it. A behind-the-scenes look at changes in Mormon doctrine and practice. Sign up for free, and it said, you must prove you're human, and that's always a trap version. And now I'm frozen. So Mormonism, Changing World of Mormonism, Scholarly Publishing Collective. So this is an explanation review. Changing Image of Mormonism. Oh, it's something completely different, as he's basing it off of the title. And of course it's frozen. Even recording still. Yeah. Yeah, it's just Dennis Lithgow. So, no, it doesn't look like it. So, Gerald and Sandra Tanner, with their Utah Lighthouse Ministry, does have it for sale, right? Oh. Wow. Is this your original Mormonism, Shadow, or Reality? Ooh, PDF version. Thank you. How hard was this Internet Archive? Internet Archive makes you borrow it. The Tanners themselves say, here you go, it's free. And why can't this be like that on archive.org? Bleeping hell. Okay. So we'll just skim over the topics that they talk about. So yes, I now have obtained that for my files. Thank you, Sandra. How are you doing now that Sister Miller chased you out of Utah? So, marvelous work, miraculous claims. The only true church. And see, again, they're basing this off of the current church's claims on Joseph Smith. Thus, no man knows Joseph Smith's history. Did you notice that revision that I did for that picture? No. Change, censorship, and suppression. Yeah. Interestingly, the church was involved in book burnings? What a shocking surprise. Changes in Revelations, Book of Commandments. Study of changes, important changes. Important change in newly accepted revelation. Unthinkable. Yeah, there's a lot of criminal activities that Brigham Young changed and said it was Joseph Smith who made the change. Forged documents. Money digging. He got so rich. Wow, I want to be a money digger when I grow up. So, Book of Mormon from the stone. Money digging in the Book of Mormon. Oh my hell. The new Israelites, Sandra. You know, and yet you don't. Working with a rod, Joseph Smith's magic talisman. Jewish Kabbalah with the Jupiter stone. And the holiness of the Lord parchment. Oh my hell, Sandra. Stop it. The church is... seriously, the church used to go after Gerald and Sandra Tanner bigly. So, yeah. But yeah, all of these are the basis for everybody else now who keeps circulating what Gerald and Sandra Tanner published way back when. 1991. Because it was 1990 when they came out with the publication of it. And so, yes, this is what everything is based on. Jeremy Runnels with his CES letter, yeah, no, plagiarized it from the Tanners. He did not know how to learn for himself and study Mormonism and do all that. So, thank you. I got that one. So, despite the poor quality print, which I should have stayed online and got a better version of it, but now I'd have to take the time to bring up the Word program and do a copy and paste. So that's another project that I may not ever get to. Okay, so on a website for MormonDialogue.org, Mormon Think was banned by Google. I'm aware of Mormon Think. They put everything on there. They don't know how to run a theory test, but it's all on there. Surprisingly all on there. But they have no clue what to do with it. So, the particular article of this Mormon Dialogue, which was 9 pages, was Top 10 Anti-Mormon Arguments. The person who started this dialogue wanted to know a list of 10 anti-Mormon arguments. And so, the first one, there's likely to be some duplications, as I noticed. Guys, why are you copying and pasting the same thing? What are you doing? Stop it. So the first one. Joseph Smith was sexually immoral and engaged in polygamy. I don't see polygyny here. If you're going to put polyandry, you better put polygyny. Oh, that's from Gerald and Sandra Tanner. And pedophilia. And no, Joseph was not. The Danites were. The Danites lied about Joseph Smith, and Gerald and Sandra Tanner believed them. Fawn Brody believed them. Other Mormons who wrote it in their journals were believed. Other Mormons, not the ones who didn't come with Brigham Young. And so, yes, this is a major thing that is being spread as immoral by the anti-Mormon community. And it's wrong. You've been lied to. And so I have to keep reminding you of the Danites, and you're not listening. You're not believing me. So bring up the pretty picture again from Thomas B. Marsh's affidavit. You do know about the affidavit, don't you? And I do have it, don't I? Where the bleeping hell is it? If I don't have it in my file, I'm going to scream. And I'm apparently about to scream. Are you bleeping kidding me? So it's in project files? Forged scriptures, oh my hell. As I told you in other videos lately, I redid my filing system. Still not satisfied. So, in the government document by Thomas B. Marsh, he's a whistleblower. Church attacks whistleblowers. Hello? They have among a company consisting of all that are considered true Mormons. So pay attention to the living prophets of Jesus whenever they talk about true Mormons. True followers of Jesus. True church. That's the code. Called the Danites, who have taken an oath to support the heads of the church. He's a head of the church. He's not being supported. He's the mission president. And these missionaries are saying that they have an oath to support him, and they're not. They're talking about other heads of the church, the Danite secret combination church, the coup, in all things that they say or do, whether right or wrong. And Thomas B. Marsh says, there are many who are not happy with this oath because they're forced to take it or die. Because this oath is against moral and religious principles. It's even a violation in the Book of Mormon. Helaman, chapter 6, specifically, with other places as well. And so they call themselves the Destruction Company. So anybody been following me with the video I did a review of about the 9 ways to gain victory over your enemies? And the picture? Always keep your eye on the president of the church, and if he ever tells you to do anything and it is wrong, where do we hear that from? Danites. This is a Danite alert. And if you do it, the Lord will bless you for it. No, he bleeping won't. Did the video on Asa, Elder Asa, liar for Jesus. Okay? You need to know all of this. I've got 10.3K videos, and most of it is recirculated, repeated in a different format for you. So don't fall for this. There is a massive amount of studying on church history because there is a massive cover-up of everything. Remember? They're wearing clothes. There is not a single archaeological proof for the Book of Mormon. Jerusalem. Yeah. Be careful about absolutes. Be very careful putting in a premise of an absolute. You've got to be 100% sure it's an absolute. Because all it takes is for somebody from the Mormon apologetic community to come along and say, Jerusalem, therefore the premise is wrong and therefore your conclusion is wrong, you need to revise it. But obviously not in America. That's why anti-Mormons, as we'll summarize them rather than saying exfo, pimo, nevermos, even the Tanners, from which we all got it from, are about cows, money, geography, others that I've contributed to for anachronisms, the Ten Commandments, to bring that back up again. Abinadi, in the Ten Commandments, says, keep the Sabbath day holy. Oops. They came when Babylon conquered them. But it was Babylon who created the 7-day week, with the 7th day being the superstitious day of don't do any work or you'll die. Our gods will strike you down. And so that's the creation of the Sabbath day. The 7th day. And so the pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptians did not have a Sabbath day. That's supposed to be your big clue. It's not literal history. Nonetheless, you're welcome for my contributions. Joseph Smith's supposed failed prophecies. Again, know the source. Check the source. There's a section in the Doctrine and Covenants about if I turn 85 years old, I'm going to see Jesus Christ for his second coming. Who's the source? Mormons. Danite alert. Joseph Smith said, even in the introduction, I told the brethren that the Book of Mormon is the most correct of any book on the face of the earth, and that a man will draw nearer to God by abiding by its precepts than by any other book. Joseph? No. Wilford Woodruff's journal. We have not found any source document for that. It's just Wilford Woodruff. Now, is it correct? You got to run the test. Because even these Danites can tell you 99% truth and 1% lies, because that's how Lucifer works. That's what I was told in seminary and priesthood, for the Aaronic priesthood. Where is that in scriptures? What chapter and verse? Call them on it. And so no, I have to then tell you the actual prophecies of Joseph Smith, and they got fulfilled. Section 85 of the Doctrine and Covenants. Joseph Smith says, at that day when the parable of the 10 virgins, I don't have them on my system anymore. I got to do it all from memory. Then you'll know that it's time. And so sure enough, I find out, because I'm the man with the keys of Moses, the seer, the prophet, the revelator, the translator, spirit, acronym. And so I teach you guys this, that the woman is the church. Revelation chapter 12 in the Joseph Smith translation. Woman is the church. 10 virgins. They're the 10 virgins representing the church. But it's Virgo. There are 5 who are wise, who have light. There are 5 who are foolish, who don't have light, and therefore dark. You have for the moon, for religion, for the church, for women, new moons and full moons. So is it new moons? Run the test. No. Is it full moons but are eclipses? I ran the test. So 2014, there were 2 full moons in Virgo. One was wise, the other was foolish. And they happened on both of the Jewish holy days of Purim and Passover. And so then 2015, 2016. So now we have 3 sets of 2. 6. We need 4 more. 2017, oh no. 2018, oh no. 2019, oh no. 2020, oh no. 2021, oh no. 2022, oh no. 2023, oh no. What the hell? 2024, oh. 2025, oh, there they are, the 10 virgins, for the 11-year time period. And right at the beginning of the Book of Mormon, in the first year that Zedekiah was on the throne, 597 BCE, to when they came back and destroyed Jerusalem. 11 years later. Now, do you understand why I say Trump failed? We were supposed to be in Zion. The church was supposed to fall. The transfer of authority was supposed to have happened. We were already supposed to have an exodus to Zion. And instead, they ran a bleeping test run. That is a prophecy of Joseph Smith. Technically, his daddy. But section 45, Joseph Smith, well, no, that's daddy. Yeah. That is daddy. Because that's with the Joseph Smith translation when he got to Matthew 24. And he's revising it for us specifically. And so the other one is the Book of Abraham. Everybody complains about the Book of Abraham. He didn't translate it from Egyptian correctly. Yes, he did. Remember? Sir Alan Gardner needs to be fixed. And Budge, I don't know why they keep printing his works. Bleep you, YouTube. It was a clip. Bleep you. So, in chapter 1 of Abraham, verse 11. After knowing about the 10 virgins, I then was reminded with my visionary memory, oh yeah, isn't the virgins offer, oh, let me check. Now this priest had offered upon this altar 3 virgins at one time. Can't happen in the sign in the heavens, but it can happen 1 year after another. Did you catch it already? 2014, 2015, 2016. The 3 virgins. Wait. Who were the daughters of Onita, one of the royal descent, directly from the loins of Ham, who don't have the priesthood, who are dark. Ta-da! Lunar eclipses. These virgins were offered up because of their virtue. They would not bow down to worship gods of wood or stone. Therefore, they were killed upon this altar. Eclipses. Reinforced over and over again in different ways. Through a vision. That you may have knowledge of this altar, I will refer you to the representation at the commencement of this record. And so there's your clue for the next one in chapter 12. Of which they said, and it came to pass that the priest laid violence upon me, that they might also slay me, as they did those virgins upon the altar. Well, women are for moon, men are for the sun. The sacrifice of a man is a solar eclipse. So 2014, 2015, 2016, lunar eclipses. What's next? 2017. Was there a solar eclipse? Yep, not just any solar eclipse, the one represented at the commencement of this record. Lion couch. Regulus, the king's star. The big sign in heavens that I was notified of on the 4th of November 2016 by Fox 13 News Utah, that I changed everything for. And there it is, right here in the book of Abraham by Joseph Smith. That is a prophecy with a calendar date and clock time. And you're focusing on the Danite forgeries? What the bleeping hell? See how far off the church made you go? You know the apologists love to take you on rabbit holes. And you fell for another one. Unbelievable. So Joseph Smith translating with his face in a hat, peepstones, hunting gold, and other forms of magic. No. Vision. Again, the second vision. Buried in the ground, in stone. It's in the ground, in stone. Hello? He's giving you a calendar date and clock time. He's a seer, he's a prophet, he's a revelator, he's a translator. You're not getting it, ex-fo, pie-mo, never-mos. You fell down the rabbit hole again. Knights Templar. He's talking about when the Christ is coming in the latter days, the 23rd of September 2017, with the 3 solar eclipses over the United States of America, where the Chi-Rho represents X marks the spot for the New Jerusalem of the buried gold plates in southern Illinois. Nobody's listening to this point. The LDS Church is a controlling cult that dictates life choices and finances of its members. Yeah, but it's worse than that. As the boss didn't understand. The LDS Church is racist and homophobic. Yeah. And intolerant. Yeah. How could people who hate be Christians? Well, as a Christian, you hate. Remember? The Jews. When you say Jesus is the Christ, you are bleeping the Jews. It's their scriptures. It's their commandments. It's not yours. And you replaced Emmanuel, the sun god at noonday, with Jesus, who doesn't exist by definition of the word that Constantine made up. And so that was a stupid argument. And the Brigham Young did that on purpose to get Christians compromised. Oh, we're racist? For hating the Jews and blacks? When there are white supremacist Christian nationalists who do what we do, it's just a culture. We all do it. And you fell right into the trap on that one. Church has no proof. Yeah, run the test. The physical evidence. But you're not using that as your argument. But rather asks you to trust your emotions to prove it is true. Yeah, it's a fallacy argument. Automatically false. So good, you caught on to that one. But you didn't know how to recognize it because you think that as Christian, you're good. Mormonism, as any religion, is not supported by science and reason. So I love to mock Oakes from his BYU talk, where his daughter shunned him, or his granddaughter shunned him. The creation, Adam and Eve, Tower of Babel, evolution, parting the Red Sea, the existence of God, morality, etc. Interesting that you used evolution. The church doesn't use evolution. They're against evolution. Monkeys! And yeah, you're correct, though, that evolution is also not science-based, because it's a fallacy argument, and thus why they can't run a test for the theory of evolution, or even evolutionary theory. They don't have the missing link, kind of essential. They need to be able to replicate the test to produce the physical evidence, and they can't do it. For Darwin to say, oh, these fruit flies can't replicate. Or I think it was another person who ran that test. It was the Arizona or California fruit flies, something like that. It's been decades. But yeah, he said that you isolate fruit flies from the main family group that they were a part of, and then you go for a long period of time that they're now interbreeding with themselves, and these fruit flies are interbreeding with themselves. Then you bring back these fruit flies with these fruit flies, and they won't interbreed with each other. Proof! No. No. You just created a division so that they don't recognize their familiar group anymore. You're jumping to hasty conclusions on this. It's the same thing for homosexuals to get into the fields of science and then observe penguins banging other male penguins. Oh, see, they're doing it. We can do it. No. No, you're missing the point. No. Wrong argument. But it's also used as a weapon by the enemy as well. AIDS. When it came out in the 80s, it was promoted as a gay disease because it seemed to only be passed originally through homosexual sexual activity. But then other people started getting it, women. Michael Jordan got it. Or not Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson got it. And he was having sex with women. Lots of different women. And so that then changed the causation of it. And then you've got babies that are now born of mothers with AIDS, or the HIV virus that causes AIDS. I don't want to get technical on this. And so, yeah, that crushed my thinking on this, because I was being told, yeah, those who are having sex with multiple partners, not being safe in their sexual activity as well, are the ones who are getting it. And so that's all that I knew, so that's what I thought. And so, yeah, people are experiencing the consequences of having sex with multiple partners and not being safe. And then it came to find out that, oh, babies are also getting it through the mommy. And that changed everything in my viewpoint, now that I have the additional information. It's impossible for me to do the study and research on that because I'm not a scientist in the field to do the blood work and to run the tests. And so have a control group. You guys are only going to have sex with your spouse. You guys are going to have sex with a whole bunch of people. You guys don't get to have sex. And we'll see who gets AIDS. It's not how you do that for that. God. But anyway, and so yes, as I get corrected information or the complete story, I am then able to learn the truth as it's being bared and transparent for me. It's been so long since a naked woman appeared in my dream. There's been a dearth of nudity in my dreams. Finally. I remember telling Karen, Moroni is naked. Joseph Smith can see that he's naked and that he's male. Because Arnold Freeberg portrays him as a beardless, not long-haired hippie. Like Jesus and Father are. Jesus and Heavenly Father are bearded hippies, whereas Moroni, supposed to be Nephi, is not. Nice haircut, no beard. That's not how Joseph described him. Either visions. That was an artist who rendered that. And so, thus, why the church perpetuates still to this day of a Jesus in their movies with the beard, as freaky, creepy as he is. Dear God. Because when you're acting, you are projecting your interpretation of the character. And if the director or the production company chose you for the part, it's because when you ran the test at the beginning, they said, that's the character that we're looking for their interpretation of Jesus. So Christians have their version, other Hollywood celebrities have their version. You know, Mel Gibson did his Passion of the Christ. He chose Jim Caviezel, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, to be Jesus, because Mel Gibson saw in Jim the characteristics, the nature and character in his acting ability of Jesus, what he wanted. Likewise for Lucifer as a female. Bald. And so when I mentioned the other day about the 9-thing video, the person who assembled the video together from Asay's talk used as the picture from scriptures of Jesus confronting Satan. Satan has wings. And then in the other picture, Satan's a black man. He's not smart enough to know how to use the symbolism in art to select. So for that usage, it's because he's a racist, as anti-Mormons point out. Okay. So yes, but anti-Mormons don't know that 3 Nephi chapter 14 verse 15 plus, likewise Matthew chapter 7, likewise Moroni, Alma 32 starting verse 28, are all talking about the scientific method for producing knowledge and truth. They just know that the church is wrong by using spiritual witness feelings. And so yes, using emotions is what's technically called emotivism. It's a fallacy. It's false. Used for morality purposes. It is false. Cannot be used. Because in the use of it, you then become immoral rather than moral. Because of the problems that result from it. Mormonism. Let's see, we already got that. Mormonism is a cult. You guys are not getting it. You know about magic, right? So, X-Files, Mulder, what was he educated on? The occult. And so the church's claims that the first and second visions are literal history has Joseph Smith talking with the dead. Looking at a rock and a hat for crystal glass looking. You know he got arrested, right? Because you missed my video on the 20th of March this year. The anniversary, the 200th anniversary, the bicentennial anniversary. As anti-Mormons, you missed it. Bleeping hell, guys. So yes, the Jupiter stone, the holiness to the Lord parchment. If you're going to call it magic, then you've got to call it an occult, not a cult. The cult would explain this for you. Ministry would explain this for you. Just one fix. That would be an Excellent theme song in the description below. Ministry. Just one fix. Has absolutely everything to do with the album cover, with the angel, with the butt showing. Symbolism, transparency, and thus why I'm going to use it in the theme song in the description below. But that's also what the Jews did to the Babylonians. They took their assimilation and then used it for the prophecies. So I and the Jews think alike. But yeah, this is all about Bible stuff, which is interesting that this was put in here, because they're also claiming that Christians are not based on science and reason. And yet they went back and said the other thing. Only the Book of Mormon is not based on science and reason. The Bible is, however. Then why does the Book of Mormon plagiarize the Bible? About the creation, Adam and Eve, Tower of Babel, evolution, parting of the Red Sea. It's Reed Sea, actually. The existence of God, etc. Quit using contradictions in your argument, guys. The church will expose this of you. Apologists will, anyway. And then you will be humiliated. Oh no, I guess the church is true after all. I gotta come back and pay tithing. And so the church is a cult that changes its beliefs to bend to social and political pressure. No, they don't. They never gave to political pressure. What the bleeping hell? Social pressure? Seriously? And so... Pick one. Okay, blacks get the priesthood. Political pressure, was it? Social pressure, was it? No. The church went to the government and said, repeal the Edmunds-Tucker Act. The government said no. You need to allow blacks in. Well, fine. Redact, or what was the word I used? Don't have it written down. The Edmunds-Tucker Act, and then we'll do it. No, you do it first. Fine. And so the church, by allowing blacks to have the priesthood and go to the temple to get married, now they have to be worthy to go to the temple to be married, and now blacks also are compromised to the church's financial crimes that they have to pay tithing to the church for this stuff. And the baptized blacks also were having to pay tithing anyway. But yeah, now blacks are involved in the criminal operation of sex trafficking, prostitution, specific to being endowed in the temple now. And so no, the church didn't cave. The church got what they wanted to plan for the latter days. The United States still can shut down this church without the Edmunds-Tucker Act, because there's the RICO Act now. The religion is a front for their criminal operations. It's a whole criminal organization structure, so that when a Mormon YouTube employee attacks because the Strengthening Church members called them, the church gets busted. And that employee should have gotten fired by YouTube, who should have gotten fired by Google. Because it's making Google the bad guys and the fall guys for this. YouTube, the fall guys. To protect the church from getting punished. When it was the church through the Mormon who did it. This is how evil this church is. And so, Protect LDS Children, the bishop, recommended, hey, let's have a list for children for worthiness interviews. Church said, oh, hell no, and they excommunicated him. He then started the Protect LDS Children movement. It became very popular. And so the church caved. Oh, they changed to social pressure. No, they didn't. Nelson, on the 17th of December 2017, Revelation chapter 12, verse 4, 3 technically, but 4 in the Joseph Smith translation version, lowered the age of child brides to 11. Monson's not dead yet. He used AutoPen. And so in 2019, Nelson then has the temple changed. And now the law of chastity is for polygamy, for 11-year-old child brides. And Nelson starts doing videos about the Claire Crosby girl. Oh, yay! Stay away from her. And the parents are clueless. Mormons are clueless. I came out when Oaks did away with the high priest group. And Mormon priesthood holders didn't catch it and were complaining. No, we didn't. I'm still a high priest. You missed the point. You're being grandfathered out. And so same with women. Kate Kelly, he excommunicated her, publicly humiliated her. And then they start doing committees. And, oh, the change in the temple in 2019. Oh, yay. Sister missionaries can now wear slacks. Women can now wear slacks. Did they cave? Or are you still a slave to your husband if you follow the chain? Women now obey Jesus. Jesus speaks only to the living prophet of Jesus, who tells you to obey the family proclamation, and the family proclamation says, obey your husband, he's the presider, but hey, you're an equal partner. You got conned, and you fell for it. God, women, come on. So no, the church never caves to social and political pressure. They make you think they do. Same thing with LGBTQ. They are only allowed to talk to a member of the 70 or some other appointed person to have discussions to placate you into thinking, yay, we're building bridges. And then the next conference comes up and Oak says, bleep you, and burns down the bridge. It was a trap. And now the church under Oaks as president is finding ways to purge this church more severely. This is the danger ex-fo pi-mos are not getting. Just because you left the church doesn't mean you're safe now. The church is in charge of causing Armageddon, in case you missed it. Trump is failing, but in his failures, what's happening to the economy of America? How long do you think we can keep this up? How long can the poor survive as the big corporations get richer and richer? Oh, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints gets richer and richer, and the Mormons get poorer and poorer. How long, Mormons, until you see the big picture? How long, ex-foe, anti-Mormons, until you see the big picture? We're in 100% drought in Utah now. Governor Cox is still failing to declare an emergency. We are witnessing my parting of the waters with the keys of Moses that I told you in advance I was being forced to demonstrate yet again. We're supposed to already be in Zion, and we're not. And so, yes, this is not supposed to be a test run. This is supposed to be it. And it's still getting dragged out. How long are you going to be able to live paycheck to paycheck in the state of Utah? They now have secured a 10,000 bed ICE detention facility, which is a concentration camp of hell of human trafficking. Utah tried to trick you into getting that for the mentally retarded homeless criminals. Run by only psychologists. Hello? They're setting things up for Nazi Utah, Nazi America. Unless America rises up and takes back our country. Trump is purposely threatening you to start a fight. And you're not doing it. You're laying over and dying. He wants you to start it, even though he started it. He's already declared war on America. The church already said, we're worshipers of Lucifer. And nobody is rising up on this. This is horrifying. Because when they start implementing by locking people up in these concentration camps, it's too late to rise up and protest because they just arrest you and lock you up. You allowed them to get a beachhead. And now it's extremely more difficult to stop them. You're not getting it. You're not seeing the big picture. This is the trap of evil. This is the trap of the church. They don't want you to know the real church history. So when September 6th came around, oh, magic. Well, let's try to harmonize it. Yeah, Joseph Smith, that's the gift and power of God, rocking a hat, okay. Church fires and excommunicates them. Oh, yeah, they were exposing the truth. No, they weren't. They were wrong. But the church shut them off to let you think that they were exposing things that the church didn't want you to know about. But that's exactly what the church has been wanting you to know about. He's talking to the dead. It's already magic. Witchcraft, necromancy, occult. It was already part of Brigham Young's trap, and you fell into it. What they don't want you to know is that they're the Danites causing all of this to utterly destroy the whole world and all living things in it. That includes you. Mormons are not going to be saved in this church. The devil never supports his own. Mormons will be betrayed. Mormons are going to go, oh crap, we thought this church was true. Now we have no church. How are we going to worship Jesus? I don't know. Where's Alma and Amulek to teach us about correct faith of the physical evidence of the scientific method? Oh crap, we only have the pure doctrine of Lucifer to cover up and hide our nudity. But we can't afford clothes anymore. We're like Lamanites who walk around in loincloths. You're not getting it! And so, consigliere is a Mormon. So I think this is good enough, because that seems to be a repeat here. That's a repeat. So here's a different version. The Book of Mormon, anachronisms, anything written by David Wright, new approaches to the Book of Mormon, American Apocrypha, and referencing publications rather than the primary source documents in the Book of Mormon. You can't do that, guys. Like I said, I found out, oh yeah, Babylon, Sabbath day, from them. It did not exist prior to. And so why is it in the Book of Mormon? Well, anachronism. Ta-da! Jesus Christ in the Roman period time. Oops, anachronism by Christianity in the First Creed. The First Creed is an anachronistic book or document. That's why Joseph Smith tells us it's all wrong, all abominable, all corrupt, which means Jesus is all wrong, all abominable, all corrupt. Christians don't want to get it. They think they love and accuse Mormons of not loving, when they themselves are also not loving of the Jews for 1,700 years, when the Pope came out 4 months late to confess. And so yes, there's obviously more, but we're already at a 4-hour video. Oh, dear God. I think I told you about that stuff in the first part. Okay. So, again, the trap has him at the end that nobody's listening to. And that was a 30-minute video or a 15-minute video that the boss couldn't even watch or read. The church, is setting up the trap, and I'm forgetting, God, because I got straight on the tangent. Damn, I'm gonna have to make it another video then, because I'm gonna be wasting too much time here trying to figure out what it was that I was trying to remember. But it has to do with civilizations. God, I'd be pissed if I remember after, because it's going to piss me off. So if I remember, I'll put it at the beginning of the video. But yeah, oh, leader. I should still put it at the beginning later. Hold on.